The markets are in a tailspin, and everyone's asking the same question: how much worse can it get? In today's video, we're diving into why this is happening and what could spark a turnaround. Here's the thing. So many people are completely misreading the situation, and I'm here to break it all down. We'll explore what's driving this massive sell-off and, more importantly, what could be the game-changing catalyst to shift the tide. Stick around. This is one video you don't want to miss. Let's dive right in. Tired of fake gurus who claim to be expert traders but never trade live? I trade live on the second largest crypto exchange, where everything is transparent and results can't be faked. For over 440 days, I've consistently closed every month in profit. In the last 90 days alone, my followers have earned over $34,000 in profits with only 4% drawdown. Verified results, not empty claims. Want to see my verified stats? Click the first link in my profile and start copying my trades for free today. There's a lot happening, and we need to break it down fast. The big story right now, foreign markets just opened, and it's not looking good. Japan, in particular, is taking a massive hit. Their markets opened barely an hour ago, and chaos followed. Selling was so intense that trading was completely suspended, just frozen. It's like watching a storm rip through the markets, leaving traditional sectors absolutely battered in its wake. And let's be real, we all know what's behind this: tariffs. The latest tariff news is sending shockwaves around the globe, and markets everywhere are feeling the pain. Let's dive into tariffs and the economy. It's a hot topic we'll cover in depth later, including Trump's economic plans. But for now, something big is happening. The cryptocurrency market is starting to feel the heat. This is no surprise to me. I've been saying it for a while. Traditional markets can only bleed so much before crypto starts taking a hit too. Here's the kicker. This reaction doesn't actually make sense. Tariffs have zero direct impact on cryptocurrencies. So why is the market tanking? The answer lies in liquidity. Cryptos are some of the most liquid investments out there. When traditional markets dip and over-leveraged investors scramble to cover their positions, they need fast cash. Where do they turn? You guessed it, cryptos. These assets are the go-to for raising quick capital when the pressure's on. When markets take a dive, even when it has nothing to do with crypto, people are often forced to sell their crypto holdings to cover losses elsewhere. Think about it. Someone might reluctantly offload their digital assets just to stabilize positions in another struggling asset class. For savvy investors, that's an opportunity. Why? Because you can snag those cryptocurrencies at a discount, and the long-term bullish outlook for crypto remains untouched. In fact, I'd argue it makes the case for crypto even stronger. We'll dive deeper into this idea later in the video, but what we're witnessing right now is the crypto market reacting irrationally to turbulence in traditional markets. Sure, it's rational from the perspective of people needing liquidity, and cryptocurrencies are an easy source of cash. But don't confuse this with a sign of weakness in the crypto market itself. It's not about fundamental issues with crypto, it's panic spillover from elsewhere. That's the key point I want to highlight. Alright, let's switch gears to some good news. Well, funny good news. Jim Cramer thinks the markets are set to drop another 20%. And you know what that means? We're probably closer to a market bottom than we think. It's like a reverse barometer. When Cramer's doom signals flash, optimism might just be around the corner. Now, I'm half joking here, but let's be real. The panic is palpable. Everywhere you look, it's the market's crashing. My parents are freaking out. Neighbors are talking about selling. It's chaos. But moments like these often mark the bottom of the market. It's hard to imagine things spiraling much further, even with all this tariff drama swirling around. Speaking of tariffs, they're actually nudging countries to the negotiation table with the US. And while the current administration is pushing its economic agenda hard, they know the stakes. Trump's keeping a close watch on the stock market and won't let it sink too far. He holds all the power in his hands. And that's exactly what makes this topic one of the most critical discussions in this video. Market crashes come in all shapes and sizes, but the worst ones happen when systems start breaking and no one knows how to fix them. A recent example, COVID. When the pandemic hit, markets plummeted because we entered completely uncharted territory. No one knew what COVID was, let alone what life on the other side might look like. It was like staring into a black box, stepping into an alternate reality with no map and no clue about the economic fallout. That chaos felt unprecedented. But today our situation is strikingly different. Markets aren't panicking because of some mysterious force. They're reacting to something man-made: tariffs. The fear-gripping markets now stems from actions intentionally constructed by the United States. Now, I'm not here to debate whether tariffs are good or bad. What matters is this: just as these tariffs were imposed in an instant, they can just as easily be removed. That's the key takeaway. If, hypothetically, Trump announced tomorrow that tariffs were gone, which, let's be honest, is highly unlikely, the markets would shift direction faster than you can blink. The market would immediately bounce back, reacting with a surge of optimism, bringing us out of this slump. As an investor, this reassures me that Trump won't let things spiral too far. Even if the situation did worsen, I firmly believe it wouldn't be allowed to go unchecked. Right now, Trump is facing significant pushback, largely driven by market performance. Yet I stand by the use of tariffs as a strategy to bring more economic leverage to the US. I still believe he'll push forward with this approach. The markets, in my opinion, are overreacting. This isn't the doomsday scenario it's being painted as. Oddly enough, this has always been Trump's game plan. The market celebrated his election because of this very strategy. It's not like he's veered off course. When Trump was first elected, the market surged, fueled by excitement over his plans to do exactly what's happening now. But fast forward, and suddenly, everyone's panicking like it's the apocalypse. It's a classic case of market irrationality. The same investors who once bought into the market, anticipating Trump's plan, are now selling off as that very plan unfolds. It's ironic, isn't it? To me, this chaos signals just how unique the current moment is. There's a widespread belief that these tariffs will collapse the global economy and push us into a massive recession, or worse, a depression. But let's be real, Trump isn't about to let that happen. And here's the thing, these tariffs didn't just fall out of the sky like some mysterious virus. They've been part of the strategy all along, and now the world is simply catching up to the game plan. Tariffs weren't just random, they were intentionally put in place and can just as intentionally be removed. This kill switch factor makes tariffs vastly different from any deep-rooted financial crisis. To me, this is one of the most critical aspects of the times we're living in. There's an immense opportunity to shift gears. The fact that we haven't yet, it tells me one thing: the people in the Oval Office right now see this as nothing more than a temporary shakeout. But why are these tariffs even being pushed so hard? Personally, I believe they're ultimately for the good of the United States. In fact, I think they're setting the stage for significant growth ahead. I was planning to break this down further, but I came across an incredible video outlining Trump's economic plan. Everyone needs to understand this because it's crucial. Remember, the market initially rallied based on Trump's economic strategy. Now that it's unfolding, people are panicking. If you finish this video and still think this plan isn't a good one, I'd genuinely love to hear why. Personally, I believe it's a smart move. Sure, the markets are reacting negatively right now, but that's because they're not seeing the bigger picture. They're missing the full scope of what's being built here. In my view, this is short-term pain for long-term gain. The US financial system needs a shake-up. Things aren't working. There are glaring inconsistencies and deep-rooted issues that demand fixing. What Trump is doing is ripping off the Band-Aid to address these problems head-on, setting the foundation for a stronger, more resilient economy. Pay attention to this, because what's happening here might just surprise you. After hearing this breakdown, if you still think the market's current reaction is justified, well, we'll have to agree to disagree. I believe the market is completely misunderstanding the situation. People selling now, they're going to end up caught off guard in a big way. Trust me, there's more to this plan than meets the eye. Trump's economic vision actually makes a lot of sense. Take a closer look. The US currently sits on a staggering $36 trillion in debt. By 2025, the government plans to spend $6 trillion, but will only bring in $4 trillion in revenue, leaving a $2 trillion gap that'll push the debt to $38 trillion. Enter Trump's economic strategy, built around 3 bold moves to tackle this financial mountain. First up, slashing expenses by $1 trillion. Think Doge, think Elon Musk. He's aiming to cut out waste and fraud, like Social Security payments still being sent to people supposedly 150 years old. Yes, fraud that absurd really exists. Next, boosting revenue by $1 to $2 trillion. How? Tariffs. Big ones. Tariffs jumping from $50 billion to a whopping $500 billion are on the table. Critics may argue, but won't other countries fight back? Not likely. The US is the ultimate customer, consuming $20 trillion annually and importing $3 trillion of goods. When you're the biggest buyer in the world, you call the shots. The current tariffs are anything but fair. Why should US cars face a 10% tariff in Europe, while European cars entering the US only pay 2.5%? It's clearly a one-sided deal. But with these tariff changes, there's now a strong economic incentive to bring factories and businesses back to the US. Again, what does that mean? More jobs, more tax-paying businesses, and a boost in foreign investment. On top of that, deregulation will pave the way for faster growth. By cutting unnecessary red tape, it'll be easier for businesses to thrive and generate more tax revenue. And here's where it gets interesting. He's proposing a gold card, offering lifetime US residency for $5 million. Think about it. At least 1 or 2 million people worldwide can afford this. If even 10% jump on board, that's 100,000 people, adding up to a jaw-dropping $1 trillion in new revenue. The third big move? Cutting taxes. If he succeeds in slashing $1 trillion in waste and boosting revenue by $1 to $2 trillion, the US could hit a surplus, more money than it needs. And what happens then? Taxes get a serious trim. For individuals earning over $150,000, taxes drop to zero. Yes, zero. Corporate taxes, those will shrink from 21% to 15%, well below the European average of 22%. For comparison, France sits at 25%, Germany at 30%. At 15%, the US could become one of the most business-friendly nations on the planet. The takeaway? This is government done right, efficient and strategic, running like a well-oiled machine. When waste is eliminated, resources can finally go where they truly belong, to the elderly, the sick, and those unable to work. That's the real purpose of government, protecting the vulnerable. But let's be honest, very few nations have the political will to make it happen. It takes leaders with guts, charisma, and a clear vision for the future. So, ask yourself, do your leaders fight for real reform, or are they distracted by meaningless side issues? And if you think Trump's plan is flawed, tell me why. Because to me, it just seems like plain common sense. As Trump moves to overhaul the US economy, tariffs are a key piece of the puzzle. Sure, the market isn't taking the news well right now, and there's no denying we're in for a bumpy ride. But in the long term, these shifts could be game-changing. The real question is, will Trump flinch? Will he cave if the market takes too many hits? Or will he stay the course, pushing forward with his bold initiatives? My bet, he's sticking with it. And when the dust settles, the market will recognize he had the upper hand all along. If Trump wants to lift tariffs on certain countries, he has the flexibility to do it, easing some of the strain while still keeping tariffs on others to drive revenue for his economic vision. For the first time, it feels like Trump is ready to shake things up in a big way. What's ironic, though, is that this is exactly what we, as voters, signed up for. America chose Trump for bold changes. Changes that could, if executed well, lead to a stronger economy. But if they're handled poorly, the market's current turbulence makes total sense. Still, I don't think that's the case. For years, it's been clear to me that the US was veering off course, and I believe these moves are steering us back in the right direction. Sure, the market's throwing a bit of a tantrum over the adjustment, but sometimes short-term discomfort is the price of long-term success. Once the market catches on, I think we'll see it stabilize and find its footing again. Change isn't easy, but it's necessary for progress. We'll see how this all plays out. But with the cards firmly in Trump's hands, I doubt this is one of those unpredictable black swan events we can't bounce back from. The current administration seems to hold plenty of leverage, carefully watching the situation unfold and likely waiting to step in when it suits their plans. They won't let things spiral too far. It's just the nature of politics. To me, this feels like one big reset, shaking things up before the market stabilizes and realizes it's all going to be okay. In the long run, I believe this could pave the way for some major wins for the US down the road. Thanks for tuning in. I hope this update gave you some perspective.